I've already tried to talk about this subject 3 times now on camera, and every time it's come across as a really negative rant, and I really don't like that. I don't like that myself. I don't think you guys want to see that. Twice now my Sony a6300 has lost focus as I've been holding it out at the end of the gorilla pod, making me look like an amateur. And the thing that I'm struggling to talk about is this. We need to stop using these blanket statements about camera specs. And the reason why this is on my mind is because of the outrage that I've been seeing online about new camera specs. So before we get started, I just want to point out that I am not against camera companies innovating. What I'm trying to say is the amount of card slots that a camera's got has no impact on you as a professional photographer. It doesn't mean that it's pro or not. I'm a huge fan of Kraig Adams.
Welcome, my name is Kraig Adams. I am a nomad filmmaker, full-time YouTuber, traveling the world, shooting whatever I want.
He's a filmmaker who rose to prominence because he started something called Wedding Film School. Throughout the Wedding Film School videos that I watched, he was using an A7S II, which has only 1 card slot. And I don't think that you can say that he wasn't professional then. I don't think you can say that people who are still using that camera aren't professional. People sucked that camera for ages. It got so much love. How about Zack Arias?
This is my main camera. This is the most ridiculous camera I have ever owned in my life.
If you don't know who I'm talking about, I mentioned him a couple of videos back. I'll link that there. He's a portrait photographer. He uses a camera that has only 1 card slot. It's the Phase One XF100, 100 megapixel medium format camera that costs, I think, around $50,000. 1 card slot. Is that not a professional camera? Back to video, and the Red Cinema cameras use 1 SSD slot. They're professional, yeah? Yeah. These are all professional cameras, they all have their professional use cases. But if you've been listening to some of the crap that people have been saying, they're not professional enough for some internet people. I know that I'm at risk of being pedantic with this, but what I'm trying to point out is that as much as this is a great feature, it'll really help some pros out, but it doesn't mean that it has to be there for something to be used for professional work. And I think what's happening here is cameras are getting so close to perfection that people are really just having to nitpick and find these little details, and then the internet echo chamber turns these small little gripes into huge big deals. They get blown out of proportion and people start to worry that they're not good enough, that their gear that they've got is not good enough to shoot for money, when it definitely is. I was just watching a video from the Bite Shot, Joni Simon. Hey Joni.
Let's shake your bacon. I'm Joni Simon. Welcome to my studio.
She was talking about, it was one she put out a little while ago, she was talking about what she wished she knew when she first started out, and she talks about the camera that she was using at the time to make money and how she was doing it. I'll link that up there, go check that out. I've seen it written quite a few times now. I've seen it said in videos that the Canon EOS-R cannot be used to shoot weddings because it's only got 1 card slot. Bullshit. I shot weddings for 5 years with cameras that had only 1 card slot. Hundreds of thousands of other people did too, and probably are still right now. And that leads nicely into why I'm happy to be using a camera that has only 1 card slot going into 2019. If I was shooting weddings as a photographer, I'd do it like I used to. I'd be shooting with a second shooter and we'd both have more than 1 camera. How's that for redundancy? I used to always shoot with 2 cameras, and every wedding I've been to in the last couple of years, I've seen the photographer and usually their assistant or second shooter with 2 cameras. One for wide, one for telephoto, just speeds up switching. It means you don't have to be changing lenses all the time. It makes a lot of sense. So there's 2 of you, there's 4 cameras. In the case of a card corruption, as you were shooting, a card corruption that you couldn't do any sort of recovery on, You'd still have 3 points of coverage. The client would get what they were expecting, they'd never know. That's what it means to be a pro. In my work with architects and building companies, I prefer to shoot tethered. That means connecting the camera directly to the computer, offloading the images straight away. This way you can see the images nice and big. You can also apply basic edits as the image goes onto the computer. If I'm not able to do that, the second best option for me is to go around shooting and bring the card back to the computer, because that still allows me to do the basic edits and show the client on a big screen. And the same kind of goes for shooting products and shooting food, just on a smaller scale. The workflow stays pretty much the same for my video work too. Some other things to take note of. Most of the things that I'm shooting, I can reshoot if something really bad happens. And there are times when having that second card slot, that built-in redundancy, might not even help you. Somehow your camera's stolen as you're shooting, which I've heard happen to people at weddings. Both them cards are in that camera and they're gone. If it goes for a dunk in the lake, you might not recover the stuff that's on both of those cards. If there's a fault with the camera and it's writing dodgy, corrupted images to both cards, that's not going to help you then either. It's knowing what to do in these situations that will make you a professional. It's not the gear that you've got. My insurance covers loss of images and reshoots. I wonder how many of the people who are complaining about only having one card slot actually have the proper insurance. I've definitely spoke to quite a few people who just wing it. And in the grand scheme of things, I've only ever had 2 memory cards fail. They were both from the same batch. They were both Lexar cards that for some reason were faulty, and I was able to recover images and video from both with no loss of any files. The number of card slots and the features on your camera are not going to be what makes you professional. Being a professional will make you professional. And if you're stupid enough to charge big money to shoot a wedding and you only take one camera and you don't have the relevant insurance, and beforehand you don't set up a contract, a proper contract, then you're a bit of a lost cause, and no amount of card slots can help you then. And for the rest of you who do things right, you're not going to go to prison over some lost images. You're not going to lose your business because your card corrupted. You'll be professional and you'll pull yourself out of that situation. Rant over. I'll see you next time. Confidence is one thing, competence is another. 2 weeks, and I picked today to do it. At least I did it.